line here. I don't want to pull too much of this black colour in here yet. Just want to make sure that I get this covered up with colour first. So on. So then I'll, as I come up to this black line, as I said that this is running down this way, so then I'll just go into this and I'll just pull this down into the black very lightly, just a small amount, and it will create a little black line shadow running down this way, which will add to the picture, makes it more real. Black down, you can just wiggle your brush to cover up this lines here, a little bit of dark there. Again, there is no mistakes. There's no mistakes in this picture. Okay, guys, it's your picture and your interpretation of the picture. I'm just going to get a little bit yellow now, a little bit yellow, squeeze it down, and I'm just going to run a few of those pieces just on top. Just to add a bit more to it. You can always add a little bit more white in there. Just a little bit sort of light flinging down. Again, because I'm trying to create the illusion there's lots of texture all running downwards, which hopefully is shown in the picture. So we'll step back and have a look, and yeah, I'm quite happy with what we've done so far. We've got the little bushes and planes and that, and yeah, I'm happy. So now what we're going to do, we're going to put in the little small trees over this side, and we're going to use the liner brush or rigger brush. I'm going to dip it into the thinners. I'm going to get about 5 or 6 drops of thinners. I'm going to put that in with the black. So 5 or 6 drops. It's really got to be very, very thin and runny. And I'll show you now that on here, you can probably see it, hopefully see it running. So I'll spin this round as I do it. So I'm spinning it round to do it. I'm just going to put a colour bush up there. So I find that if you hold it at the end of the brush, at the very end, you've got less control which you want. Otherwise, if you hold it down here, you push too much pressure, because you want this very light. So I'm literally just going to touch. I'm holding the bristles down and the handle up. I'm just going to touch. I'm going to lift. I'm just going to wiggle it slightly out, and as I come up, I'll lift off the pressure so the line becomes thinner. I'll go back into my black thinners and I'll go back over the line, and I'll come out and put a few more branches flicking up. So as I come up, I flick up, and I'll do like little U's, or like little umbrellas as I call it, on the end of the lines. Now make sure that as you come up, you pull off with the pressure, okay, which means the lines will become thinner, very thinner. Now a couple of my students I teach in my class, they struggle with this, so sometimes you can get a little cocktail stick, a very thin piece, and come up and use a thin cocktail stick, but with practice you should be able to do it with this. So you're just going to come up, go over the same line, come out to the side, and just a very few lines, and then where the lines come up, you're going to go in with other lines. So just going to keep coming off, very thin, little whispery lines, keep coming up, some coming out to the left, some come out to the right, just to give it this bushy shape, very small, thin, whispery little touch. So what I do, I just do little touches at the ends, which gives you little dots, which gives it this sort of whispery effect. Gives it this, as if the wind's blowing, this sort of bush shape. Okay, so that's our first one. I'm going to go back into some more thinners, spin it around, and I'm going to put another one down here. I'm going to touch, pull up, wiggle out, come up, come off. Just keep doing Very, very thin lines. Very thin lines. Again, this is not so much detail, but these are very, very whispery lines coming off these bushes. Okay, so that's enough for the second bush there, I think. Now I'm going to come into the top. I'm going to have these lovely hanging down branches which are really going to set this off. So we're going to go back into the thinners and spin it around. And what I'm going to tend to do, I like to start with the big one, so I'm going to touch, I'm going to pull it down, wiggle it round slightly, come down and off. I like to get the big parts of the branch in first. I'm going to go spin it around again, and I'm going to do another one here, coming down the middle. Don't keep these straight, wiggle them around, off. Make sure you spin the brush in the colour, but it needs to be like ink consistency. And you can always go over these again. If sometimes you can see the background or the colour, you can just go over them again. So like I said, I like to hold it at the end here, pull it out, slightly less pressure, from down. I like to get the big parts in first before I add the other bits on top, just as a guide. And then pull another one here off, and then I'm going to apply less pressure, some whispery ones coming across here, down, some more colour, like so. Like so. Now, where we've wiggled it and you've got these parts here like this, these nerdy parts as I call it, nerdy parts, this is where another piece would come off here. So basically, like this one here, we're going to come down, go back over the line at this point here. I'm going to take this around and off, and I'll go back to this part. I'm always looking at the next parts, and then I start gradually fill it in bit by bit. I find the easiest way to do. So like here, this turn, this would come off here, and you would have a piece perhaps coming down here, and maybe this little part here. Go back, always keep going back into the thinners, turning it around. Come down and look at this. I'll come back over this line here, put a bit coming across there. And don't forget, you can always put bits over the top of the other ones, which makes it look more realistic. And here, this will come, maybe this comes up this way. And don't keep them all straight. Wiggle the lines, vary the lines, because in nature, you know, it's always wiggly and they're never all straight like this. So I like to do these big parts first. Don't forget that if you want the lines thinner, you apply less pressure. So that's a start. Now I'll go back into my thinners, I'll spin the colour out, and I'll just keep going back into it. Now at the ends, as I said, I like to do little hooks or little W's. So I'm going to show you an example here with this one. So I'm going to fill this one in, I'm going to come down, come off, and I'm going to do another piece coming here. Now where this stops there is I'm going to add a little hook on the end of that, and a little hook onto the end of that. So one there and one there at the ends. So little bits. It just adds more realism to the actual branch itself. So here I have a little piece going this way, a little piece going this way. Same here, little tiny whispery parts coming off. Some coming out this way. Little whispery bits to the side. So we start to get some build up of the branches. And this is just a question of this side. It's just going to take a bit of time. I'm going to add lots of bits and pieces in here. A lot of these whispery parts, these little Y's and U's as I call it. Just lots of them. So bring them down, add little bits to it. But don't just stick them random. Join it up make them join up with the little branches, and do these little tiny whispery parts coming off them. And you'll find that just by spending a bit of time at the ends like this, you get this lovely sort of whispery effect, these little bits hanging down like this, and it just makes the picture look much more realistic. That's what we're looking for. And again, you could spend hours on this. Keep adding these little whispery bits. I'm doing little Y's and little U's. Just want it to, you know, stand out so you can see there's this sort of branches happening here. And then you can always go over these lines, the thicker lines again, if they're not standing out enough. You can just get the colour, go back over a few of these if you need to. Okay. So guys, I hope you're happy with this and you've had fun following along with this tutorial. As I said, it's not too bad, it's quite easy for a beginner. All I'd say is the hardest part will probably be these trees, the branches at the top here. Again, very light pressure as you come down and then come off, and you'll get these lovely thin edges. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial today. So that's Mark Terrell signing off from Paint with Mark, and I'll see you soon. God bless.